Hi everyone, this is Magesh Kumar from Civil Engineering Department, Rohini College of Engineering and Technology, Kanyakumari. This video is about Coastal Regulation Zone. So introduction. So what is meant by coastal zone? It is a transition zone between marine and terrestrial area. The coastal beaches, mud flats, wetland, mangrove, wetland, seagrass ecosystem, and it is estimated about 4,800 billion tons of domestic waste, 65 million tons of solid waste to the extent of 50 million cubic meter generated every year are reaching the sea. So continuous onslaught on the coastal areas is resulting not only in diminishing the extent of mangrove, coral reef and affecting fish breeding, but also impacting the lives of over 200 million people who inhabit the long coastline. Therefore, a plan of action based on sustained utilization is necessary. That is the evaluation of coastal regulation zone. In short, CRZ. According to clause D of subrule of Rule 5 of the Environment Rules 1986, the central government hereby declares the coastal structures of seas, bays, estuaries, creeks, rivers, and backwaters which are influenced by tidal action up to 500 meters from the high tide line and the land between the low tide line and the HTL are referred as coastal regulation zone. The setting up and expansion of industries, operations or processes etc. are restricted in this coastal regulation zone. So in 1981 of November, the Prime Minister Srimati Indira Gandhi took initial measures to protect the ecological balance in the coastal area of our country by writing a letter to all the CM of the coastal states. In 1982, the Ministry of Environment set up working group to prepare environmental guidelines for the development of beaches and coastal areas. In July 1983, environmental guidelines were promulgated. In 1985 to 2006, they launched an integrated project called Monitoring of Coastal Waters for assessing the status of coastal pollution up to 5 km. In 1918, draft of CRZ notification was published. 15th December of 1990, MOEF issued notification against the declaration of the coastal structures as regulation zones, imposed restrictions on industries' operation and processes in this zone. In 1991 of 9th February, based on the EP Act, that is Environment Protection Act 1986, MOAF issued CRZ notification. Then January 2011, the CRZ notification revised under EP Act 1986. So these are the features of CRZ, that is Coastal Regulation Zone. Classification. So according to the CRZ, coastal regulation zone is the boundary from the high tide line up to 500 meters in the landward side, the area between the low and high tide line. In case of rivers, creeks and backwaters, the distance from the high tide level shall apply to both sides, and this distance shall not be less than 100 meters or the width of the creek, river or backwater, whichever is less. So the CRZ is classified under 4 categories. Category 1, 2, 3 and 4. In category 1, the areas that are ecologically sensitive and important such as national park, marine park, sanctuaries, reserve forests, wildlife habitats, mangrove, coral or coral reef, areas close to breeding and spawning grounds of fish and other marine life, areas of outstanding natural beauty, historical or heritage areas, areas rich in genetic diversity, areas likely to be inundated due to rise in sea level consequent upon global warming and such other areas. So these areas are classified or categorized under the category 1. Next, category 2, the area that have already been developed up to or close to the shoreline. For this purpose, developed area is referred to as that area within the municipal limits or in other legally designated urban areas which is already sustainability built up and which has been provided with drainage and approach road and other infrastructural facilities such as water supply and sewerage mains. These are categorized under category 2. Next, here is a 3. Areas that are relatively undisturbed and those which do not belong to either category 1 or 2. These will include coastal zone in the rural areas and also areas within municipal limits or in other legally designated urban areas which are not substantially built up. And next, coastal zone 4. Coastal structures in the Andaman and Nicobar Lakshadweep and small island except those designated as CRZ 1, 2 or 3. So these are comes under the coastal regulation zone 4. Now, what are the permissible activities in such categories? In category 1, project relating to Department of Atomic Energy, pipeline, conveying system including transmission line, facilities that are essential for activities permissible under CRZ 1. Operational construction of jetties, wharf or construction, development or modernization of jetties and wharf in the Union Territory of Lakshadweep. Installation of weather radar for monitoring of cyclone movement and prediction. Construction of trans-harbor sea link between the low tide level and high tide level. So these activities are permitted in the category 1. Also, the exploration and extraction of natural gas, construction of dispensaries, schools, public rain shelters, community toilet bridges, roads, jetties, water supply, drainage, sewerage, which are required for traditional inhabitants, and also construction of trans-harbor sea link. These are also included. Next, in CRZ 2, buildings shall be permitted only on the landward side of the existing road. Facilities for receipt and storage of petroleum products and liquefied natural gas. Facilities for generating power by non-conventional energy sources. Construction of airstrip and associated facilities in the island of Lakshadweep and Andaman and Nicobar Island. In category 3, the area up to 200 meter from the high tide line is to be earmarked as no development zone. Some of permissible activities, these are the agriculture, horticulture, garden, pasture, park, play fields, etc. And also facilities for generating power by non-conventional energy sources, desalination plants, weather radars and construction of airship. It notifies special economic zone, construction of non-polluting industries in the field of information technology and some other service industries are allowed in category 3. And finally, coastal regulation zone 4. It is specialized for island. So no new construction of building shall be permitted within 200 meters of the high tide level except facilities for generating power by non-conventional energy sources. Next, the buildings between 50 and 500 meters from the high tide line shall not have more than 2 floors. The total covered area on all floors shall not be more than 50% of the plot size, and the total height of construction shall not exceed 9 meters. So these are the coastal regulation zone and their categories and the activities permitted in that category. Thank you.